it is time for the Game of the Week. That's right, folks. This week we are swinging into action with the OG, one of the original kings of Nintendo. We are talking about Nintendo's latest masterpiece, Donkey Kong Bananza, and I just want to get this out on the plate. This is the game that should have launched with the Nintendo Switch 2. Because when you're looking at the landscape and you're like, why do I need to buy a console? This game does it for me. Like, I understand launch Mario Kart. Mario Kart's a very popular game. Everybody loves playing Mario Kart, and people play it for decades upon end. But Donkey Kong Bananza should have been the Switch 2 launch title, because every single time I'm seeing gameplay footage, every single time I'm seeing the trailer, every single time I'm seeing someone talk about this game, the feeling I get is, damn, I need to buy this console. I need to pick up this game. And it makes sense, because you take the team who made Mario Odyssey, one of the greatest games of the Nintendo Switch generation, and you tell them, do what you did with Mario, but do it with a different IP. Let's say Donkey Kong. And then you get a game like Bananza. It's got a super fun gameplay loop. You got fully destructible levels, giant boss fights, and of course it's causing a lot of big questions like, does this belong in the Game of the Year conversation? So let's kick off our conversation about Bananza by talking about the review scores. Right now, Donkey Kong Bananza is sitting on Metacritic with a 90, and that's a really, really, really good score. And then when you dive into the actual press reviews, we got things like Eurogamer giving it a 9 out of 10. Digital Trends gave Donkey Kong Bananza a 4.5 out of 5. Nintendo gave it a 97 out of 100. Nintendo Insider gave Donkey Kong Bananza a 10 out of 10. And IGN, who doesn't do it very often, gave Donkey Kong Bananza a 10 out of 10. And Inverse gave it a 10 out of 10. And I have to say, it seems warranted, because something that makes Donkey Kong Bananza stand out incredibly well is obviously the destructible environments. And look, this is not just a gimmick. This is the core of the gameplay. Almost everything in the levels you go to, the walls, the floors, the platforms, even the background set pieces, all can be destroyed. And it's not just about like looking cool. This completely changes how you explore the level. For example, you drop into a cave, you smash the floor, and you discover an entire underground labyrinth of tunnels that have hidden bananas, collectibles, or even enemies. And then you punch through another wall, and then you find like a bonus room that the developer put there to hide it. It's everything that you love about video games is here. Hidden secrets. And I'm sure that we are going to be 10 years from now, and someone's going to be posting a video on Reddit, and it's going to be like, oh, look at this secret thing I found in Donkey Kong Bananza, a game that's 10 years old. That is what we can expect from this game. In fact, I read that Nintendo wanted to make sure that when you play this game, obviously there's a point A to point B to finish the level, but with Donkey Kong being able to destroy the entire environment, they wanted to say, like, yes, you can do A to B, but if you're more of an A to Z or an A to F, we want you to play the way that you enjoy. There is no wrong or right way to play this game, and I think when you do that and you accomplish something that's as cool as this, it's spectacular. And visually speaking, this game looks absolutely stunning. I mean, Donkey Kong Bananza looks like an animated movie that's coming to life. And even IGN, I wrote it down, they quoted in saying, this is a groundbreaking 3D platformer where every element of the world comes together in perfect harmony. Which I think is like the perfect way to summarize like exactly what this game is. Because we're talking lush jungles, you got glowing caverns, you got collapsing temples, all brought to life with the gorgeous lighting and animation that is similar to what we got with Mario Odyssey. And that, for me, is making Donkey Kong Bananza become one of the best video games that we've gotten in the last 5 years? Hell, do I say 10 years? But anyway, there is obviously a lot of things I can talk about, the things I love about this game, like the Bananza Modes. And you'll notice that was plural because, yes, there are multiple modes. You can go Bananza Kong, you can go Bananza Zebra, or you can go Bananza Ostrich. And obviously, the first mode, you got Kong Bananza. This basically, when you trigger it, DK bulks up and he becomes even bigger. He becomes even stronger and more intense. Everything he grounds and pounds, it creates shock waves, and he basically becomes like an unstoppable force for the length of that little upgrade period that you got. And then you got Zebra Bananza, where Donkey Kong sprouts like zebra stripes, and then of course he gets increased speed and increased agility. At times, it feels like it's double the speed, and then his jumps become higher and they become longer, which obviously comes in handy as you play throughout the game. And then we have Ostrich Bananza. And you'd think like Kong, this giant ape, turning into an ostrich would be lame and it would like feel like a downgrade. but it's not. I mean, it's arguably one of the most fun modes in the game because DK grows feathers, his legs begin to stretch out, and then you get wings. So you're like gliding across the gaps, and you can even bounce off of enemies mid-air, and you can take your eggs, which for some reason they're explosive. When you mix an ape and an ostrich together, you get explosive eggs, which, hey, we all learned something this week. But in short, the Bananza modes, along with the destructible environments, are really what stands out, because these aren't just gimmicks, right? They're creative power-ups to really enhance the platformer, and they give you another reason just to replay levels, to unlock hidden secrets that you find in Bananza, because it's like, once you beat the game, go back in, play. Maybe you can only get to this one area with your ostrich skill, or this area is the only way you can get to it with the zebra skill. But this game is great. Everything that I'm reading, everything that I'm seeing, I think this is a great option for people to pick up. And one of the questions I've seen surrounding this game is like, is Donkey Kong Bananza a good enough reason to go buy the Nintendo Switch 2? Like, if I've been holding off on buying the Switch 2, is this the game that I should go do it? And in my opinion, absolutely. If you already own the Switch 2, I mean, it's a no-brainer. Go pick this game up, play it immediately. But when you actually look at this game, the fully destructible environments, it really shows off what the Nintendo Switch 2 not only can do, but wants to do, right? These first-party games on new hardware are trying to set the tone for what the future of this generation will be. And I think between the visuals, the sound, and obviously the frantic pace, this shows this was designed specifically for the Nintendo Switch 2, and I love it, man. I think this sells the console 100%. There was a photo earlier this week that came online. Nintendo shared like what Donkey Kong Bananza looked like on the Switch 1 when they were developing it versus what it looked like on the Switch 2. And it's what we all expected, right? Switch 2 is more lush. It's more filled out as far as the levels go, whereas the Switch 1 just kind of feels a little muted, and it doesn't feel like a present-day game. So, again, if you felt like previous generation games were lacking and you're looking at this and you're like, man, this is just going to be kind of what we've come to expect from Nintendo, I really do think that this is the first game that you have an upgrade where it's like, no, this is what next-gen Nintendo is supposed to be. Which obviously leads us into the conversation of Game of the Year. Does Donkey Kong Bananza deserve to be in the Game of the Year conversation? Short answer to that, yes. Long answer to that, absolutely. I mean, we are talking a 10 out of 10 platformer from Nintendo. A platformer that could potentially redefine the genre as for what a platformer at Nintendo should be. I mean, you've got the combination of nostalgia behind this. You got innovative mechanics, and of course the sheer polish that makes a game like this stand out in a very crowded year. Because let's not forget, this year's Game of the Year lineup is like Clair Obscura Expedition 33. We got Split Fiction, Death Stranding 2, potentially Ghost of Yote, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and now Donkey Kong Bananza. That is a Game of the Year lineup that is filled with absolute killers. And if you take the Jeff Keighley and Hideo Kojima friendship completely out of it, I think Bananza does have a really good chance to upset a lot of critics this year and bring home Game of the Year for Nintendo. But yeah, I am a big fan of this game. Donkey Kong Bananza isn't just another platformer. It's a joyful, chaotic, beautifully designed experience that already is one of my favorite games of this year. So whether you're here for the smashing, the boss fights, or the countless bananas, or just the pure Nintendo magic behind this game, definitely know that it is there. And let me know in the comment section what your favorite part of this game is, if you picked it up, or whether or not this is going to sell you on buying the Nintendo Switch 2, or you're waiting for another game. But anyway, to close this out, shout out to Nintendo. Donkey Kong Bananza is this week's Game of the Week, and it's obviously available exclusively for the Nintendo Switch 2.